Hello and welcome to the Monster Sanctuary Tournament Circuit. Today we're going to be casting the quarterfinals of the final tournament of Season 1, Pack Draft. I'm Red, and I'm joined here by Jagomu.
This match will be between Rolangizmo and SmugLookingBarrel. So this pack draft, this is our first match. So to explain a little bit of the structure of this tournament, the Swiss portion was carried out following a bunch of pack drafts that happened between all the players in the tournament. But once we got to the top 8, we had the opportunity to redraft. And what we're seeing here is the result of the draft between Smug, Roland, and the rest of the top 8, and these are the teams that those players had. So they were on the opposite sides of the draft from each other.
Yeah, and I had the opportunity to be the moderator of that draft, so I kind of know a bit of these teams.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about what you saw, because I haven't seen too much of what other people are playing in the top 8.
Yeah, so the two teams here, well, we can see Gizmo is one of the most synergistic team, I think, of the draft. He drafted a pretty well-rounded sorcery team. As you can see, he's using right now Dracomer and Beetleoid as support to put sorcery debuffs on his spinner, and on Barrel's side, he's got an interesting mix of debuff monsters, which I'll be fun to see how he uses them.
On the debuff side, sure, there's some potential with burn, but the line is definitely very tanky too. I had the opportunity to play against this team. I just ran into it a few times, and wow, the barrier from Magma Pillar with all the additional defensive synergy from the 3 Mons going for a volatile shield off of the pilot can be very difficult, both to keep down the important defensive Mons while also putting pressure on the pilot so that it doesn't snipe you in one go.
Yeah, the barrier buffs are always great to defend the team with even protect from the Thornish. Here, Gizmo decides to take a turn off to clear a bit of debuff to take to avoid the debuffs going out of control. As we can see, it's starting to add up with the blood drive from the Tharblood.
Also worth noting that the Thornish is going to come in and be incredibly tanky. The Thornish has, I forget the name of the passive, damage reduction based on number of debuffs on the opponent's Mons.
Right.
So coming in off the bench with so many debuff stacks already on the opponent, with, like you said, the blood drive off the Tarblob, this is going to be a little bit of a sticky situation. I don't know if Roland's going to be able to save any of this line while also having a really hard time being able to apply pressure to Smug.
Yeah, and as we can see, he doesn't have currently an healer on the board, so he's gonna have to rely on that spinner lifesteal, but I'm not sure if it's gonna be enough here.
Weakness stack from the slime skin, making it even more difficult for Spinner to apply any pressure.
And we saw a miss on the volatile shield, I think, but it wasn't necessary here as Barrel managed to take 2 monsters from Rolangizmo.
The amount of debuff pressure is quite high. Barrel doesn't have to actually do a lot of damage with his attacks in order to apply a significant amount of pressure.
Yeah,
now,
go ahead.
Without without the Magma Pillar, it's going to be interesting to see how quickly Smug is going to be able to apply those debuffs back to Gizmo's side. Now there is probably he's running a hexing rod on that Thornish.
Quite surprised here by the previews. Didn't look so good on the Thornish nor the Goblin Pilot, even if air attacks from Eagle are super effective against them.
Well, Pilot still has 3 barrier stacks, which is going to keep it very tanky. There's not a lot of cleanse potential from Gizmo's side.
Now that should be able to take Thornish out. Not quite.
Not quite, yeah.
Okay, but at least you can see now that he's got good damage. So all he's got to do is now keep those debuffs in check. And another miss. Whoa!
That is incredibly close. Now, one thing that's probably very frustrating for Rolangizmo right now, Roland is really missing a taunt breaker, and fortunately, he has the ability to put the pressure on that Thornish. But I'm sure that's not his first choice. Looking at Barrel's line for what you'd want to kill.
Right. Oh, and so that was a bleed from the fish scales, right? From the previous attack, yeah.
So Thornish has a skill called Fish Scales, which is an aura that provides a passive chance to apply bleed to an attacker equal to damage dealt.
Mm-hmm.
So with large attacks like that, if you get lucky and roll the Fish Scales bleed stack on that hit, it can be a lot of damage. So it can be a really nice counter to some of these monsters with really large single target attacks.
Yeah. And Eagle managed to hang on here, so he might be able to keep the one shot going here.
Yeah, this might be Barrel's last opportunity to stem the bleeding now that...
Whoa! Nice attack from the Tarblob. And while we're talking about Tarblob, I think it's one of the cornerstone. Like, yes, the pilot is menacing, is threatening here, but the Tarblob, I think it's really adding up with blood drive. So I think Rolangizmo will have to maybe put a little more pressure on that Tarblob in the next one. Although might not be over with the big Cataclysm.
Yeah, I was saying the Barrel needed to do a lot of work, and he was able to do a lot of work.
Whoa! Big one here.
Huge explosion. Now there's still a lot of debuff pressure, so you might very well be able to clear.
Wow.
So now this is really banking on, can this Manticore kill the pilot? Oh yes, just enough crits pull through.
All right,
incredible first game from Rolangizmo. Okay, so we're changing perspectives. Mm-hmm. We're gonna watch now from Barrel's perspective the second game. So I'm presuming that Barrel is going first. Choosing to go first after that loss and running the same Magma Pillar Tarblob pilot front line. I don't know if Barrel made any changes behind the hood, and I don't see any changes to Mons or shifts on Gizmo's side either.
I think they're running it back, and I cannot blame them because it was a very, very close one. The Barrel managed to do a nice comeback here, and already five burn on the first turn on that spinner. Crazy. Huge amount of debuff.
And 5 burn on the Dracomer, which is incredible, and with severe upkeep from Magma Pillar, the ability to apply wound stacks on that burn damage, really just putting a lot of pressure on the beginning. Now I'm really interested to see. I'm actually a little disappointed that we don't get to watch from Rolangizmo's side, because I think Roland has a great opportunity for customization after
Mm-hmm.
that first game between Spinner and the Manticore, both having
Yeah.
a lot of different moves with variety.
Mm-hmm.
The passive that gives extra damage when
Wow.
using moves for the first time. So opportunities for both of those mons to lean heavier into water and air attacks and try to snipe down
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Barrel's monsters before he
And
has
that's
a chance to get set up.
And that's what you have to do, with these team, these aggressive buffs team. You have to really try to get a weakness attack, because otherwise, it's sometimes hard, as we can see, to go through some defensive buffs and some shields. So really need to prioritize some moves and maximize the stats of your monsters so you can get through. Here we were talking about like the amounts of burn from the first turn, but also the monsters from battle sides were fully shielded, and like Pilot and Pillar and Mama Pillar already had three barriers from the first turn. So crazy good synergies here.
We were able to see Rowan eventually snowball to the point where he was able to
Wow.
break, and here we see the Magma Pillar falls again to the Spinner.
Mhm.
Really, that second turn of setup seems to be
Yeah.
key for Rowan to be able to break past the defensive line from Barrel.
Yeah, well, he has some, multi sorcery auras from Bitaloid and Dracomer, so he can, scale up through the game also.
I believe Dracomer and Beetleoid both have shared sorcery, so
Yeah, that might be right. I know Dracomer does. Not sure about Bitaloid. Interesting here. So low health. So he's gonna have to make a decision. Uh, does he want to take a turn off and maybe chug some potions to get back, or does he wants to keep the pressure on?
I think with bringing in Stolby has the ability to amplify a number of debuffs that are already present, as well as bringing multi-poison, so bringing additional debuffs to the table.
Yeah.
And I think that's allowed Barrel to create a assertive position that's pressuring both of the Dracomer and the Spinner.
Hmm.
I don't know what I would do if I was in Roland's situation.
Yeah, that's a tough
There's an
spot.
opportunity to just with the snowballing that's happening. He's got 23 charge stacks on the Spinner. Doesn't want to lose that Spinner next turn. Really wants to be able to snipe something else, but the damage isn't quite there.
No. I wonder. Yeah, probably if he has the Frost Pierce. Usually when I play like versatile, damage dealer with let's move, I tend to not take the element from my ultimate. So let's say if he has Frost Pierce, maybe he doesn't have the other skill. I think it's Icicle Spear or something like that. Uh, to pressure the Tarblob. Maybe that's why. But
I
I
think
think
this
now,
game so far has been a good showcase of some of the new additions to the debuff teams in the DLC.
yeah.
If you're watching and you've just been playing on ladder, just been trying out some of the new PvP teams, you may have been having a hard time, let's say, with applying debuffs in the current meta, but there are a lot of great new options, including Tarblob, that are really exciting, and it's nice to see Tarblob being able to showcase in this first post DLC tournament,
Yeah.
and be able to really do a lot of work.
And if I'm not mistaken, it was I think it was one of Barrel's first pick in the like first or second pick, I think, in the draft. So he really valued also that Tarblob there.
So we're seeing we're crossing the threshold here. We're able to pick off both of those supports.
Mm-hmm.
We're now left with an awkward amount of DPS on this backline.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is going to create an opportunity for Roland to turn the tide now that Spinner's gotten to build up quite a bit. So it may be looking pretty tasty.
I wonder why
Trying
he
to
keeps
pick off some of those buffs.
Yeah, I wonder why he keeps using Cleansing Flame on the pilot. Like you say, maybe cleansing some buffs, but
But potentially if acting second doesn't want to waste the damage potential from other moves.
mm-hmm.
Now this Tarblob 36 charge stacks, 4 age stacks. I'm very curious how Barrel has built this Tarblob that it's able to pivot so seamlessly into the mid game and be able to do quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, well, one thing very nice with that monster is that it has the scaling passive from the H stacks. I don't remember the name, but it's
Primal Rage.
Yeah, that one that Rocky and Mega Rock also have. It gains 5% more damage per H stack, so it can add up pretty fast. Usually, when I build it, I tend to focus, what the monster, what skills tell me to do. So that's pretty convenient when when you have health focus or crit chance focus, or I don't remember the name exactly, but you can use the new items from the DLC to build crit and critical chance and health to pretty good success. Like you have defensive, you have a nice defensive monster that can eventually start doing damage.
Now we see on our first turn with Infinity Stacks, the Eagle was able to pick off the pilot.
Mm-hmm.
But on the turn back, Smug is able to knock out the remaining bit of the DPS on Roland's line, and we're on to game 3.
Wow. Rolangizmo back against the wall here, and Barrels did a small change, and actually Rolangizmo 2, Barrel bringing the Crystal Snail, and Rolangizmo bringing the Nautilid.
So let's see, what did Smug drop for the snail?
Is it the troll? The troll, I think, yeah.
The troll, correct. So probably saw last game that those previews weren't looking so hot.
Whoa.
However,
Okay, so
that snail just evaporated. Without all of those barrier buffs, it can be very difficult to have the toughness necessary to withstand a lightning bolt from the eagle.
I like Rolangizmo approach here, switching things up, starting with the eagle instead. He would have had a good attack on the pilot if Barrel was doing the same start from before. So I like that switch.
Starting with the age stacks, I think there's definitely an opportunity to move into the late game, knowing that this game could take a while.
Yeah, and now we can see, Tarblob is great from up to apply debuffs and with his multi debuffs aura, but not the best healer. Can't heal that pilot to full health here.
Now this line is able to do what it's been doing. It's got all that burn applied very quickly.
Hmm?
And we're now starting to see the bleed stacks build up and the wound stacks build up. Apply the pressure that allows these debuffs to start scaling and actually be able to kill monsters over the course of a few turns.
Bird drag here, pretty good, removing that wound stack, and Rolangizmo managed to take another one here, so might be in a stronger position than the previous games.
It's also interesting seeing Roland opt for the restoring ones on his supports. Now you might say, oh well, this is obvious. His opponent is running debuffs, but his opponent is able to apply so many debuffs so quickly. The ability to remove just the single or just a few debuffs from the team doesn't seem to be making a huge difference in terms of the state when it comes to the turn being passed to him and how many debuffs are getting the opportunity to tick on his monsters.
I think just having just a small way to remove them is better than none, because like you said, with the multi debuffs aura, from these monsters, Barrel would be able to apply so many debuffs if the game goes a bit longer.
It's worth noting that Rolangizmo doesn't have a really great way to protect, to break the protect from the Thornish. Yeah, and he's in another one of these situations where it's difficult for him to apply any pressure to anything other than the Thornish. Opting to take that turn off, remove a pile of debuffs, use a number of cleanse, but still not a lot of health on the Beetleoid. It's very possible that they're gonna fall here soon, but Rolangizmo's got a fresh backline.
Yeah, he could take advantage like he did on the first game. I think with the Cataclysm on Manticore, that might be an option here. But
even if you don't act last, it's still a 12-hit minimum combo builder. The floor is quite high with a Cataclysm in almost all circumstances. Now the Eagle survived. We see 7 age stacks on that Eagle.
He decides to go with a more defensive approach. And, that can be good too, you know.
I like this defensive approach. You have an Eagle that you want to protect. It's got 6 sorcery, it's got 7 age stacks, it's got 15 charge stacks. It's not gonna get much better than that scenario, and being able to Arcane Shield.
Ooh, nice.
A pile of damage from that counterattack. It's not a counterattack. Yeah. I forget exactly what the condition of the damage that's applied to the attacker beyond fish scales.
Now things are shifted here.
This looks like a great position for Roland. Once being able to leave the pillar and the tar blob alive, they're the ones with the 3 barrier stacks, but they don't have a lot of good ways to apply them. A lot of the initial barrier stacks come from other sources that can't be replicated at this stage of the game.
And, as it tends to happen, you know, with when you play against stally debuff teams, like the Beetle on Rolangizmo's side wasn't doing much. Well, he'd much prefer have a new fresh monster with mana, with other way to protect the team than keep it around. So it was actually good for him to lose that monster instead of losing, let's say, Vertrag or Eagle that keep scaling up with these H stacks.
Yeah, that's what I'm noticing about Roland's team. Its ability to scale is just much better than Smug's at least has appeared. I think primarily because of those age stacks, but also I think Smug's lines have been trying to set up their debuffs and whittle you down over a few turns, and lean on the fact that there's not a lot of healing that can break through both the wound stacks and the bleed stacks and all the damage multipliers on all those debuffs. But once you get past that...
Wow. Okay.
So we should talk about this new lineup that Smug has brought for Game 4.
Yeah, so decides to go for an aggressive approach with Toad and with Troll managing to take the Phoenix affinity out. Whoa! Although the fire weakness, yeah.
I was just about to say, it's very interesting to have the double taunt, because those single targets and non-overlapping weaknesses are very interesting, and then he turns around and just destroys everyone with a solar beam. So
I mean,
Smug trying to set back up after losing, I guess, his trick up his sleeve, dying to a laser beam, and back to the original plan.
It was an interesting attempt to to kill the Eagle, to at least get rid of the Phoenix affinity so the debuffs can then break through the Eagle. But yeah, we saw it backfire quite literally. In fact, here. Remind me the score again with the switch of perspective. I'm kind of confused a bit.
So we're currently 2-1. The first match, or the first game of the match, Roland was able to take.
Right, make a great comeback here. Yeah.
Smug went first and then was able to slowly whittle down Roland's line. Game 3, the swap ups were able to let Roland win through Age on his side, and now we're seeing this switch up here in Game 4.
Now we see the value of targeting that Eagle on the first turn, because we can say it's one of the more threatening monsters on Rolangizmo's side, and Pilot was able to take it out here. Ooh, interesting. Okay.
This is a very interesting swap. I was about to comment the players deciding to make my commentary as awkward as possible.
Yeah.
I was about to say that the Beetleoid Vertrag combo can put a ton of sorcery on whatever DPS he wants to bring in. So both seem like fantastic options to get set up incredibly quickly. And then he brings in the support Nautilid. Now we don't see Roland's previews, but I'd love to see the previews for the gravity from Vertrag, because it's possible that this is the end game that Roland wants to build towards, is a really large gravity. The debuff removal from does the light shift have? Oh no, it's a damage reduction. I thought is it damage reduction or debuff removal?
I'm not sure. I don't play that Nautilid too often, but it's something to do with debuffs. But I don't quite remember. And I was about to comment here. Barrel's quick thinking. He's thinking, oh, okay. Rolangizmo wants to stall this out, so I better change to my more my monster that also scales with the game in Tarblob. And we saw for first time, I think, in at least in quarterfinals, a monster switch here.
Well,
Very
there's
rare
plenty
sight.
of time, and doing so behind a protect is not unreasonable. But
Mhm.
also the first time for this match, we're seeing Rolangizmo able to actually pull himself down to a manageable number of debuffs.
Yeah.
Without all those debuffs being able to live turn to turn, it's difficult for Smugside to really do any damage. It has a lot of survivability, but Roland knows he's gonna get there. Like, he's got the age advantage. He's got plenty of time.
And
He's just gonna maintain control over these debuffs and be able to win the long game.
yeah, and one thing, just remembered, one thing that Nautilid brings is the Age of Purification passive. So
That is correct.
When Vertrag and Nautilid get an Age sack, they remove it, but they also remove a debuff. So that's pretty useful here.
I've really enjoyed this switch from Roland to the Nautilid, but not only the switch to the Nautilid, but also the switch in the lead to the Beetleoid Vertrag. I think that was an interesting pivot as well against
Mhm.
the shenanigans that Bear was pulling with Multiburn.
Yeah, Vertrag here really managed to stabilize the team in a better way that the other monster couldn't. I respect the drag commerce support. Maybe it was to try and put more pressure before Barrel's team managed to put too many debuffs, but it didn't really work out in the end.
But here
So
we're waiting for this ticking clock to go off. I'm very curious to see
but
when. I
does
wish we could see the previews. I wish we could see how close this Vertrag is getting to be able to explode
so
the lineup.
yeah. One thing is Vertrag in the previous game had the channel healed ultimate. So I'm not sure if he switched it up. Maybe he did.
It's possible that he's not building towards gravity.
Yeah.
He did pop the pilot with an ice hail rather than the gravity, so we might be here for some time. We have started to go into infinity stacks, so hopefully we can
Yeah.
turn the corner pretty quickly. But it will be interesting to see if the Primal Rage age stacks can scale to keep up, and if those previews will get bigger for the Tarblob. I think that's kind of the only opportunity here. We're looking for Tarblob, Primal Rage scaling.
Yeah.
And we're looking for key misses, crits, fish scales from big attacks and infinity on the Thornish.
Oh.
And Smug just packs it in.
Okay,
Not
very, very
not that I
interesting
blame.
here.
Yeah, that was a great match between those
Yeah.
two. I really liked Smug's ability to really apply tons of debuff damage. I'm sure if he was on this call, he would say that he was the menace with a defensive stall team, but it was really impressive how quickly it was able to do damage, chunks of damage, and apply wound stacks, and
Right.
really end the game quite quickly. Well before infinity stacks, for sure. The pressure was there, but Roland's ability to sideboard
Yeah.
effectively, customize against the debuffs, and in game 4 even show the ability to completely disregard the debuffs and get down to base neutral. It was very impressive play from both players.
Yeah, really smart plays from Rolangizmo in that last game. And I was about to comment before Barrel conceded that not only he was in a good position because he was able to manage all those debuffs, but also uh, maybe Barrel realized it, but as soon as one of his monsters got taken out, he was looking at one of the strongest DPS in the game, Spinner and Manticore, with a few Infinity stacks. And with Infinity stacks, I'm sure that these monsters would have been able to take out the rest of Barrel's lineup. So really, GG to both players, and we'll see you in the next
This
one.
is the first game of the quarterfinals. I can't wait to see what the other players have in store.
Yeah,
Thanks all for
indeed.
watching.